Okay, guys. So we have, for each tense in English, each tense has 4 different variants. Let's say we have present, we have the past, we have the present, and we have the future. So for each one of these 3, we have this. We have, for example, simple past, past continuous, past perfect, and past perfect continuous. We have simple present, present continuous, present perfect, and present perfect continuous. And also we have future, future continuous, future perfect, and perfect continuous. We just saw on the first part of the unit, we just saw how to work with simple past and past continuous. On this part of the unit, we are going to be working with the past perfect. As I mentioned before, the past perfect is being used for an event that happened before another event in the past. So let's go ahead and explain you this a little bit better. So this action, this past perfect, is for an action that happened before another action in the past. So for example, we have this sentence. He studied so much because he had received a lot of homework. So if you guys remember the present perfect, you know that for us to do present perfect, we need to use have and then the past participle of the verb. In here, in the past perfect, is basically the same. It's just that instead of have, we are going to be using had in the past. Let me wait for this to load so I can show you. So for example, for present perfect, we are going to be using the particle have plus the past participle of the verb. And then in this case, we have the past perfect. So instead of have, we will be using the particle had plus the past participle of the verb. So for example, let's say if we are doing I have bought this, for example, this computer before. Like, I have bought this computer before. If I am going to talk in the past perfect, instead of have, I will be using had. So I will be saying, for example, I was listening to music because I had bought a computer. So basically, again, we are using, as I said, we are using the past participle to talk about an action that happened before. So let's say that the first thing that happened in this scenario is that I bought a computer. This happened first. I bought a computer, and then I was listening to music. So I was listening to music before I had bought a computer. This happened first, and then this happened later. For example, let's say that we have this timeline. So on this timeline, we have past, we have the present, which is now, and we have the future, of course, which are the things that haven't happened. In the past, obviously, we have things that already happened to us or finished action. So in the past perfect simple, we have when we arrived at the cinema, the film had already started. So as I was explaining before, this action is the first action that happened because the past perfect tries to describe an action that happened first, that happened before another action, but They both happen in the past. So we have this, let's say that, for example, the movie started at 8 o'clock, but then we arrived at 8:15. So that means the movie here first started and then we arrived. So when we arrived at the cinema, the film had already started. This happened first and then we arrived. Let's see this example too. The meeting had already started by the time I arrived. So again, we have a timeline, we have present, we have the future, and we have the past. In this sentence, both of the actions happened in the past, but one of the actions happened first and then the other action happened. So in here we have the meeting had already started by the time I arrived. Let's say that the meeting started at 8 o'clock p.m. and then I arrived at 8:15. First, the meeting started and then I arrived. The same happened here. When I arrived at the cinema, the film had already started. If the film started at 8 o'clock and I arrived at 8:15, that means that first the movie started and then I arrived. We have something similar here on the books too. For example, we have this past event. I was having lunch with a friend, and then we have the past perfect event, and I had parked my bike on the street. That means that the first thing that I did was that I parked my bike on the street, and then I was having lunch with my friend. We have this other example. When I came back, someone had stolen it. This means that first someone stole the bike and then I came back. So I didn't see who stole my bike because they stole it and then I arrived. In here we have the past event one more time. They were able to steal it because I had forgotten to lock it up. So in here again we have had forgotten. So this happened first. First I forgot to lock my bike, and that's why they were able to steal it. So again, the past perfect is built just as the present perfect. Is just that instead of have, we will be saying had. Had stolen, had forgotten, had parked, had drunk, have watched, have seen, had seen, and so on. But basically, this is what we use it for. If you're going to talk about two events in the past, but one of them happened first than the other one, that's when we are using the past perfect tenses. Like in here, I was having lunch with a friend and I had parked my bike on the street. That means that I arrived, parked my bike, and then I had lunch, which is basically what this tense wants to do. So we talk about these two actions, but one of the actions happened first, and then when this action happened, this other action also occurred. So they are both in the same, let's say they are in the same timeline, but the past perfect happened first, and then we use the other past. So to practice this, I have this exercise right here.